Good morning. Today's lesson is lesson 5-7. We are going to be learning about fraction, subtraction, number stories. So recently we've been doing addition, fraction, number stories. Now we're going to do the opposite and learn about subtraction, number stories. So number 1 says, solve the number story on this screen and the next. Use a different strategy for each one. So the average amount of precipitation in Death Valley, California in January is 39 hundredths of an inch. The average in February is 52 hundredths of an inch. On average, how much more precipitation is there in February than in January? So now, we're going to fill in the whole box. So, what would my whole be? So I'm going to look through my story and figure out what my whole is. All right, so I figured out, looking through here, that my whole is, looking on here, is 1 inch. 1 inch, okay? Now we're going to do the number model with the unknown, okay? So I'm going to take my two numbers and I'm going to subtract them because they want to know how much more precipitation there is in February than in January. So I know that I'm going to start with February, which is 52 over 100 minus 39 over 100. And I'm just going to put an R for rain. Okay, so there's my problem. So there's one way to solve the subtraction problem, because there's multiple ways that you could solve this. So what is one way that we could do it? So one way I'm thinking of is that we could use fraction names, like kind of how we did in Monday's lesson this week. So I'm going to take 52 hundredths minus 39 hundredths to equal 13 hundredths. 13 hundredths, okay? So that's one way that you can do these problems. Let's go to screen number 2 and see what we're going to do in this one. So this one says, a vegetable lasagna recipe calls for 3/4 tablespoon of pepper. Caleb used 1/4 teaspoon when he grilled the vegetables. He added the rest to the cheese mix. How much pepper did Caleb add to the cheese mix? Okay. So the first things first, I'm going to find my whole. So when I'm looking through here, I'm looking to see what my whole is. And it looks to be like it's teaspoon. So 1 teaspoon is my whole. I'm going to write it in my box. Okay. Now I'm going to do my number model. So we want to know how much he added to the cheese mix. So I'm going to take 3/4 and I'm going to subtract 1/4 to equal T for teaspoon. All right, so we did it with words last time. Let's think of a different way that we could solve this. So one way I'm thinking that I can solve this is I'm going to use my fraction circle pieces. So I'm going to break these out. I'm going to look at them. And I know we're dealing with fourths, so I'm going to get out my yellow. Okay. Drag it over here, and I'm going to break it apart. And I have 3/4, so I'm going to take away 1 because I don't need 4/4, I need 3/4. So, and I'm going to get out a red circle piece to represent my whole. Drag that over. Represent my whole. Okay. Now, I have three yellows, and I have 1/4 taking away, so I'm going to drag 1/4 away, and I'm just going to throw it away. And now, how many do I have left? I have 2. So, I have 2/4 of a teaspoon. 2/4 of a teaspoon. So that's another way that I can solve this problem. I can pretend that this red is my whole, my 1 teaspoon. I can get out my fraction circle pieces. I can use them on my screen, and I can drag them to show that I have 2/4 of a teaspoon, and that's how much how much pepper was added to the cheese mix. All right, let's try our very last screen. Okay. So now we're going to just work on subtracting. What is 7/4 minus 3/4? So I know when I'm dealing with the same denominator, I do not change it. So I'm just going to leave it as a 4. I don't subtract both the 4's and get 0. That wouldn't make sense. So I'm going to take 7 minus 3. What's 7 minus 3? 4. So here's one way to write my answer, 4/4. Or, what's another way that I could write my answer as? Yes, I could write it as 1. I could write it as 1. All right, number 4. 10/12 minus 4/12. So like I said before, I know that I'm just going to leave my 12 the same because I don't change it. And then all I'm going to do is take 10 minus 4. And what's 10 minus 4? Yep, that's correct. It's 6. So now I have 6/12. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to take 5/8 minus 3/8. So, like I said, I know that I'm just going to leave mine as an 8 at the bottom, and I'm going to subtract 5 minus 3, which that equals 2/8. Okay? Now, on my very last one, is 1 minus 38 over 100. So now I have to think, what does 1 equal if I'm using hundredths as my denominator? What would that be the same as? Yes, so what you would do is I'm going to cross out the 1 so I don't get confused. And I'm going to put 100 over 100 because that's the same as 1. Make my 1 a little better. So then now all I'm doing is taking 100 minus 38. So I'm doing 100 minus 38. If I do it over here, I can't borrow. Now I can borrow. Turn that to a 9 because I still need 1 over here. So I take 10 minus 8 and I get 2. And then I take 9 minus 3 and I get 6. So I know that my answer is going to be 62 over 100. Thank you guys for watching with me today.